Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels.
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, ladies, not much has happened since I was here last, right?
Nothing at all.
Yeah, there wasn't a game yesterday in which Azeez Al-Shaair almost literally killed Trevor Lawrence. As Mia can report this as well, Taylor, we're in the press box yesterday, and we can overhear one of the Houston guys. I think he works for the team, the PR guys, and he's giving a recap of what's happened in the game at the halfway point, and he says, yeah, they're not able to do much on offense, and we've only kicked field goals, we haven't scored touchdowns. And then he goes, and again, this is not funny, but this is how he said it, and we just killed Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, if this is a PR person saying that, like, and obviously the melee ensues and all that. The Jaguars fall to 2-10. So much craziness happened. But I tweeted out immediately that I think he should be suspended for the rest of this season. And if they make the postseason, that should include the postseason as well. That's how I felt about it. He has a track record, and I did look this up. There's a precedent in the NFL. Last year, Broncos safety Kareem Jackson was suspended for 4 games without pay because he had shown on multiple incidents that he was having unnecessary roughness issues. So I say the rest of the season for him. Either way, I'm glad to see that Trevor Lawrence is okay and certainly is tweeting. But yesterday was scary.
It was. And that's what I was talking to you a little bit before the show about how my immediate thought was you're like, oh, I hope he's okay. But also I was thinking Marissa right away. I'm like, I can't imagine that feeling of you have a baby due in a little over a month and you're seeing him. And like the broadcast, they're zooming in and it almost looks like a neck thing at first, the way they're trying to like hold his head still and his neck still. So then you're freaking out about that because we've seen the tragedies that are revolved around that. But it's scary moments, and we get it. It's football, and bad hits happen, and there's things that do happen accidental. But this is an issue. Like, he has a track record of having late hits on quarterbacks. It's a thing that's exactly what the situation was in week 2 when I told you guys I was mad at him because he punched Roschon Johnson. It all started because he late hit Caleb Williams out of bounds. And so it's now this cycle. And to your point, if the NFL wants to say they are about player safety, then you do have to do something about this.
Repeat offender. That's why. If he's suspended the rest of the season, there's 5 games remaining. Or 4 for the Texans because they have their bye this week. And I think that's a fair suspension to suspend him for the rest of the regular season, because it would be one thing if this was a one-time circumstance. It would also be something if it was direct head-to-head contact. But as so many on social media have elaborated and Zapruder film broken down over the last 24 hours or so, there is a photo that, shout out to the Times-Union photographer who took it, where it's probably he's about 5 feet from Trevor, and Al-Shaair's forearm has not come up yet. And so at that point, that is where this becomes an intentional personal foul. This was not circumstantial to being a competitive football play. And Ryan Clark, I thought, did a great job of elaborating on it and saying, look, in that situation, your job as the defender is soar right over him. You can elevate your body. Yes, I know it's a bang-bang play, but you can physically just say, let me soar on top of him. And if I clip him on the way to the ground, it's unfortunate, but that's a football play.
Yeah.
When you then incorporate the hand, that is where that is intention, contrary to the statement Al-Shaair released this morning, in which he insisted that we don't know his heart, and he would never, in his heart of hearts, try to hurt Trevor Lawrence, someone who he said he had a pregame conversation with, so therefore, why would he try to hurt him in the moment?
He only apologized, in my opinion, because of how viral it went and how many people were in support of Trevor and the way it looked, obviously. Look, we all know it's in situational football. Trevor Lawrence came into this game with a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
People talked about that all week long. You know, the Texans players were aware of that. When Trevor Lawrence took off, immediately in my head, I said, I know he's going to slide because he's going to protect that shoulder.
He slid feet first. So
He sure did.
For the whole crew of, well, the reason he's got the shoulder injury to his non-throwing shoulder is because he slid head first against the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, he followed
Well, he
What-
learned.
Many people believe
Shire
is standard
knows-
operating procedure.
He knows in that moment Trevor's going to slide. He came into this game with an injury.
Yeah.
That's the other reason that I don't believe his apology is sincere. He, again, is just trying to keep from getting suspended. But national media reporters are saying that a suspension is coming. Of course it is. How could you have watched that?
Yeah.
Especially if you were watching it live and didn't just see the slow motion. Like when we saw it in the press box live, I mean, it was every single person, Houston media included, all said, oh my gosh, like immediately.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm glad he's going to be okay, but this is his second concussion in the NFL since he had one last season. And so if he takes the rest of the season off because he needs to make sure he doesn't suffer more brain trauma, I'm fine with that.
Well, also because let's not bury the lead here. With a Denver Broncos victory tonight on Monday Night Football, the Jaguars are eliminated entirely from playoff contention.
And the Broncos are playing the Browns. So I assume they're going to win.
Right. They're already eliminated from the AFC South title race. That would eliminate them from the wild card as well. And so that's where I think if you're Trevor Lawrence, if there truly is nothing to play for other than tape, he doesn't need to put any more tape out there. I'm sorry to the Heeligans who, want to criticize and break down his performance and the misfires.
He didn't look good yesterday.
Right. He didn't look good. But ultimately, I don't need to see him redeem himself from that first quarter performance in the next 5 weeks. I would like to see him redeem himself week 1 next year, and you may not give yourself that opportunity if he was to suffer additional setbacks.
And this was the exact reason when we were having the conversation last week, Lauren, of we made it a poll question, like, do you think Trevor should play this weekend? And my reasoning of not wanting him to was, number one, you're already out. You're out of it. The season is kind of a wash. But I was looking back to last season, and once that Bengals injury happened, it was just one thing after another. And what we learned last year is Trevor Lawrence is not one of those quarterbacks who can't practice. He has to be out there when he's not a full participant. You've seen him struggle in games. You saw it before he got injured. There was definitely some rust there. He's not one of those guys that can miss a week and come in and perform at the level that you would expect him to. And so that's where my head was going this whole last week. And I know, I get it. He's making $55 million, and you are like, why are you going to let your $55 million quarterback sit on the bench? That's exactly why, because you're paying this guy long term and you want him to be able to play long term. And you've seen already once he's like banged up a little, and some of it's this, you can't predict this. I'm not saying that, but you can predict that other teams know when a quarterback's injured and they will go after that because they're like, hey, let's take him out of the game. We can win. People made the comments here when Patrick Mahomes his ankle was hurt. Everyone was like, oh, we could win if you take Patrick out. Every fan base has their moments of that. And so to me, like, you want to have this guy, if you want him to be your future, then you do have to protect him a little bit.
I do think because the passing game, it started off okay, but then Trevor started missing some throws. And I do think in his mind, when he decided to scramble, it was, I have to do something to get this offense going.
It was man-to-man coverage. Like, it was the right decision to scramble there.
Having watched DJ Lagway go into games with a hamstring injury and him completely change how he operated and not running the football at all and being able to stay in the pocket and still make those throws, that's kind of how I thought Trevor was going to approach yesterday. But again, I think he just got to a point where he was like, I have to do this myself. Or nothing's going to work.
Which
By the way,
is his job. So I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not hero ball. That's exactly what every quarterback who's trying to win does. And we know the Texans needed that game. I do want people to hear, though, Frank Frangie, Tony Baselli, and Jeff Lageman, when this whole thing happened yesterday live.
Play fake. Rolling to his left, looking downfield. Trevor's looking. He wants to run it to midfield. Slides in. Oh, he got drilled. What in the world? He absolutely got drilled, and there's a melee, and I don't blame him. He slid to the ground. He's still on the ground. That's about as cheap a shot as you'll ever see in the NFL.
It's a brawl. It's a flat-out brawl. And Evan Ingram went at the linebacker. The linebacker, Azeez Al-Shaair, hits Trevor Lawrence as he's going feet first down to the ground, and I think Trevor got KO'd.
What a cheap shot that was.
Shout out to Evan Ingram, though. I love seeing the guys that will come to defense for their quarterback, obviously, and the offensive line, too, outside of Walker Little, all came to his defense right away, too.
Which Walker Little was there. I wanted to spell. He was there. Like, here's the thing, folks.
He followed Al-Shaair with Sheriff.
He was with Sheriff and BTJ. Ultimately, if there's 5 people in front of you, what are you going to do? Push through your own teammates? Like, I wanted to spell
Sheriff
that.
was like the one that I was like, heck yes. Because you, even after, also, there were so many things wrong with this situation. Like, when someone's ejected, why is he still running around the field freely?
Why was Joe Mixon the one who was going to escort him to the locker room?
Yeah, no. It makes zero sense.
First of all, LOL that it was Joe Mixon. Second of all, like, if you are a staffer for the Houston Texans, you got to be looking at yourself in the mirror today. Yeah. And there's probably going to be no repercussions there, just like these were offsetting penalties.
Yeah, which also weird.
Right. there wasn't even a repercussion for the act. I think the whole NFL needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror. I do want to touch upon, we were standing outside the locker room when Trevor and Marissa exited the locker room. I was told by a couple of boots on the ground at Everbank Stadium who were there as in the melee, getting Trevor to the locker room. They did bring Marissa down from the stands as soon as everything transpired. They got him back on the cart. And so she was with him that midway through the second quarter on. And there was a question of, were they going to go to the hospital or not? I can't say after they walked towards the Miller Electric Center if they did or not. I don't know that. But they were there the duration of the game. And that, at least to Doug Peterson's point, does suggest that while it was certainly a considerable concussion and considerable collision, it wasn't to the point where it was such trauma that he needed to be transported immediately.
I didn't like the usage of the word unfortunate. Like it was unfortunate. No, unfortunate is when a player has like a non-contact injury and they're lost for the season. This was despicable. And the most egregious hit I've ever seen for a sliding quarterback in person in my life.
So let me read from someone who has been extremely critical of the Jacksonville Jaguars of late. He is someone who I respect in the sports media world, and that's Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons tweeted out yesterday, "The craziest thing about the Lawrence cheap shot was how unusual it was. No one has crushed a quarterback like that in years, just an immediate brawl. That hit was from 1982. And some of the replies echo the sentiment of, I remember how we used to celebrate those kind of hits. I watched that hit today. I felt sick to my stomach. From someone else, the Jaguars had the 100% correct response to hit back. I respect them a lot more today than I did yesterday."
But like David Garrard said on Jaguars Today, the show that precedes us, that type of hit, when someone says we used to celebrate that, no, not when a quarterback was sliding. You used to celebrate hits when a quarterback, like a Josh Allen is taking off and then you can hit him as hard as you want. When a quarterback's sliding, they're defenseless at that point in time.
No, I think they still celebrated it back then, Lauren. Collision and violence was celebrated differently.
It was
25, 30 years ago. But as I was just saying to Mike Dempsey as he left the building, that's because we didn't have the information we do now about CTE and head trauma.
That's what I was just about to say. The knowledge that we have now has changed people's perspective because you know that those things, it's not a hit, that's a temporary thing. These things have turned into long-term issues for a lot of these guys, and especially quarterbacks. And that's the reason that we've seen these kind of changes. And I've seen all on Twitter, the people that do that were kind of more so it's football, get over it.
Or it's a late slide.
Yeah. And those type of comments I'm just ignoring at this point because it is the game has changed in a way because they do realize that this is a game and they have lives and you want them to be able to live full lives. And we've seen circumstance after circumstance, Jim McMahon being one of the ones who says he didn't have a memory of his daughter's softball games for years because his head was so messed up from getting hit. We don't want that anymore.
Yeah, this is someone who's in his mid-20s, like you said, about to have a baby. How would people feel about their son in their mid-20s getting in multiple car accidents, basically, right? And having that head trauma. You would never want that. So this is part of the game that like I said to start, I think the NFL needs to suspend him for the rest of the season, including the postseason. We'll see what they do. There was more Jaguars news yesterday before the game. Walker Little received a 3-year extension, so we will get to that when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. Love the Parman family. Hope they had a great Thanksgiving. It's 10 to next on 92.5 FM.
Sometimes winning and losing comes down to one play. There's only one performance-painting, high-performance play of the game on 1010XL.
Mia here for Duck Duck Rooter. The holidays are coming, and so is your family. Is your septic system ready? What about that leaky kitchen faucet that you've been just putting off? Or that toilet that's been struggling to flush, and you've said, I'll worry about it next weekend. Don't let plumbing chaos steal your holiday cheer. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to fix those issues before Aunt Linda and Cousin Earl blame you for ruining Christmas. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Experience the winning combination of style and performance with Renewal by Andersen energy-efficient, custom custom-built replacement windows and doors. Right now, buy one window or patio door and get one 40% off. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. The first 50 customers get a free True Screen upgrade, but this offer expires December 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Mia here for MyBookie. What a weekend we just had in the betting streets. Did you cash in betting with MyBookie? If you didn't, you have Monday Night Football tonight to get in on the action. The Cleveland Browns have extra rest as they travel to Denver to face the Broncos. Both of these teams are coming off a win, and the Broncos are 5.5-point favorites with a 42-point over-under. There's some people saying Bo Nix should win Rookie of the Year because the Broncos have been taking care of business against teams with losing records. Thus, I'd expect them to win this one by a touchdown and cover the spread at home against the Jameis Winston-led Browns. Guys, MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors. Our listeners can sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your first deposit up to $1,000. That's promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie. And don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday.
Integrity, persistence, and standing up for victims. It's what you want in a personal injury case and what my friend and lawyer Glenn Cohen brings to every case for over 40 years. Call Glenn at Barnes, Cohen & Sullivan.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Here's a special message from our president.
Thanks, David. This is Jordan Harrington, president of Royal Pest Services. We'd like to thank everyone who has trusted Royal Pest for their pest control needs this year. Wishing all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from the Royal Pest family.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE neograft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dollard, Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Monday afternoon. Talking all things Jaguars. Yesterday morning, Walker Little received a 3-year extension, $45 million with $26 million guaranteed. I was completely wrong on this one. I thought he would test free agency for sure because he had never really been, I guess, told that he was going to be a starting tackle in this league, at least from what we can tell, other than obviously once they traded Cam Robinson away. I thought he would get the most money possible. I thought he wouldn't want to be here. And then he said today that he was almost surprised that it happened mid-season.
Yeah, I can tell you from being close to the situation that this was certainly a surprise. This is a deal that Trent Baalke, from start to finish, initiated the conversation and was a part of throughout the course of this negotiation over the last few weeks. I can also tell you that Walker Little and his fiance want to be here. They want to be in Jacksonville. They believe in Shad Khan. Is that to say they believe in the current regime? I won't speak to them for that, but I can tell you they enjoy living here. He loves his teammates. This was always the goal for them, but ultimately, let's not bury the lead. Part of why he wanted to test free agency, part of why his camp has been frustrated is because he hasn't had an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, for the next 5-6 weeks and even leading into now the next 3 years, presumably, he will finally have the opportunity to prove that he is more than just the 13th best left tackle in the National Football League, which, by the way, is what he is being paid. And that is the 40th best for any offensive lineman in the league, which, depending on how you feel about him as a player and knowing we've had a limited sample size, I think it's a wise decision for both parties. And it is a deal, and I said this to multiple people yesterday when my phone blew up when the news came out. This is a deal that even if you were to have a new general manager tomorrow, that same general manager would negotiate this same deal. There is no question that you are not rolling into 2025, into the offseason, into the NFL draft with Anton Harrison, Javon Foster, who has not been active for a single game this season, and saying, yeah, we'll figure it out. That all but shows your hand, and you lose all leverage in terms of free agency, in terms of the NFL draft. Everyone knows where you would be going in both of those situations.
Was the position part of the conversation, left versus right tackle?
He's the left tackle. Walker Little is the left tackle. To my knowledge, he is the left tackle.
Because I think that does change or how I would feel about the contract.
The contract is very similar to the deal that Ezra Cleveland got, and ultimately Walker Little will be 28, 29 when he is a free agent again.
Yeah.
And that is around the same age that Brandon Scherf was when he got his deal here in Jacksonville, which was his second payday.
Yeah.
And so the Walker Little camp looks at this and they say, you know what? $26 million in the bank, $15 million this morning. That's a great deal. And also, it gives that maybe hometown discount, sure, to help the franchise, to free up the franchise as you enter this era in which, because you are paying your quarterback so handsomely, you need to free up dollars and cents elsewhere. Yeah. And look, I just can't come away from this and this idea of, well, this means that Trent Baalke is here. He is here to stay. He is being given free reign. Look, I said this to a buddy yesterday, and I understand that this will upset some of you. At this juncture, Trent Baalke is being paid to be the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you are being paid to do a job, you are expected to do said job. And the response I got from my friend was, well, there's thousands of people, millions of people in America right now who are being paid not to work. And he's not wrong. That's not the way that Shad Khan operates. Shad Khan operates in a world in which if I'm paying you, I better be seeing some sort of action. And I know your response out there, Heeligans, is, well, we would like to see wins then. We would like to see positive action. Yeah. But ultimately, he just needs to see something that says we're trying to benefit the franchise. This is viewed as a win for the franchise.
Taylor, I like the move because of the fact that Walker Little's been playing really well.
I think it's a win-win-win, honestly. And I do, I immediately tweeted and I said, if Trent Baalke is here, and people took that as me saying, this means that Trent Baalke is going to be here. That's not what I was saying. But to me, it is him trying. It is almost like, okay, let me do something to prove that I can make right decisions. And so he doesn't usually do this in-season this stuff. So to me, it is Baalke trying to save himself right now. And whatever way that goes, I don't know. But when it comes to Walker Little and the Jags, I think it's a win for both, because I do think that Walker Little, he hasn't had much time to play in general. And when he has, he's getting thrown all over the offensive line. So for him to actually being told, hey, you will be this left tackle and you really have a shot now to prove yourself as being one of the better left tackles in the league, rather than being oh, you'll be here for a couple games and then you're going to play guard for a couple games and then you're going to play everywhere and you never really get to see what he can truly be. So it's a win for him to get that position. But also, the Jags are going to have a crap ton of holes to fill this offseason. Right. So if you can jump on that and get ahead of it and say, okay, that's one less thing that we have to worry about in free agency and the draft, good for you. We will see what this looks like in 5-6 years. I personally think we're still going. I think in 5 months we're going to be that was a steal, because we're going to get this next wave of contracts where these guys are making even more. Mm-hmm. And if Walker continues on the trajectory where he's at least going to be a pretty good left tackle.
So 2 things on that real quick. I do want to give you guys the stat from yesterday. According to PFF, Walker Little did not give up a single pressure nor a sack on 32 pass blocking snaps yesterday. That is now 3 games since Cam Robinson was traded in which he has not given up a pressure. So file that away.
I think Daniel Griffiths tweeted out that he gave up 1 pressure. So, but either way,
I think it was
it's not like there's a
PFF
5, whatever.
Right. Okay. Point being, 716 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which of course you guys can get in on the conversation at 641-1010, says we have a top 5 pick for a left tackle. To Taylor Dahl's point, you have a top 5 pick, and left tackle is far from the only hole that you have to address. And so that.
Do you really want a rookie left tackle protecting Trevor?
And do you also want to. Right. Look at how ask the Chiefs how that's working out for them. I think they'll tell you, yes. If you have somebody in the building who at the very least can be top 15, you would sign up for that every single day of the week, especially on a relatively cheap, team-friendly deal. I also think you guys you Heeligans have to look at it like this. You can't roll into the draft where everyone and their mother knows who you are taking, what position you are addressing. Let's go back 2 years ago when the report came out 3 days before the NFL draft that Cam Robinson was going to be suspended the first 4 days, or first 4 games, of the 2023 season. Trust me. Many of us knew for several weeks that was coming down the pipeline, but ultimately the team asked to first of all, they appealed the suspension for Cam Robinson. So let's begin with that, which they had not heard back from the league yet about that appeal. So that's number 1. So you don't want to speak out of turn because there's an appeal process going on. Number 2, once that news broke, the Jaguars all but lost any leverage. Every team in the National Football League knew they were eyeing a tackle in the first round of the 2023 NFL draft. It was just a matter of where. Ultimately, they got lucky. Anton Harrison was the apple of their eye. They were able to trade back and still get him. Yeah. But it became so much more stressful because everyone knew what they were doing. And so for those of you who say, well, you have a top 5 pick, it's less stressful. No, it's just as stressful because now who's to say that someone who really wants Will Campbell doesn't say, okay, the Jaguars are picking 5th. I'm going to trade ahead of them.
We know what they need, so
Right, we're going to go ahead of them and get to 4, especially in a draft class that as of right now, and I know we are not talking draft. Well, I guess maybe we can now because the Jaguars have been eliminated from the AFC South race. In a draft class that is not expected to be that deep at the tackle position.
There are teams that everyone knows are going into the draft and picking certain positions, especially quarterback.
Yeah,
you know
certain
teams
quarterback's different.
Are picking a quarterback. But as far as...
Because even then, you still go into the draft with a veteran backup a bridge quarterback, do you not?
Yeah, I mean, I think teams...
You still have somebody on the roster. Like, you're not going into the draft with this gaping hole and being like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, teams that have the least amount of holes obviously can approach the draft the best possible way because they can get the best possible player. They don't have to be pigeonholed into one thing. But at the end of the day, Walker Little, Anton Harrison, I think those are two really good tackles. And whether they're protecting Trevor Lawrence the rest of the season, if it's Mac Jones, either way, moving forward, I think it's great to have both of those guys. I thought that Anton Harrison would be switched to left tackle. This is before the Walker Little news yesterday. I thought he'd be switched to left tackle, and I thought Javon Foster would be the right tackle going into this season. Going into next season. But now it does seem like it's going to be Walker on the left, Anton on the right. You still need a swing tackle, obviously.
And I will say, like, I've been shouting this for weeks now that I love the way that the Detroit Lions have drafted and they spent on Penei Sewell. They got a high draft. I mean, they used a high draft pick on him. So I'm all for putting it in when it makes sense. But I do also think you have to evaluate how many holes you do have and where the importance lies. And if you have a chance to get ahead of some of this stuff, jump on it, because it is going to be a long offseason with the amount of things that the Jaguars need to fix.
Yeah, long offseason is correct. I want to keep it on the Jags when we return. We'll also go around the NFL, talk some college football, but we've got a ton to do today on Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all-you-can-eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
Why buy from Hodges Mazda at the Avenues? Because they strive to ensure a satisfying and comfortable car buying experience. And now they are giving back. Lauren Brooks here. Hodges Mazda wants to say thank you to all educators, first responders, and healthcare providers by offering a complimentary oil change and car wash during the Mazda A Season to Move You event. Call today or schedule online at HodgesMazda.com. Come experience for yourself the Hodges Mazda difference. Free oil change not to exceed $79.99, excludes diesel vehicles, expires December 31st, 2024. See dealer for complete details.
Helmets and Heels.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barra here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
Post Game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
My Gate Rewards members, now through January 2nd, you'll get an entry for your chance to win free gas for a year each time you buy 5 eligible Monster Club products. Not a rewards member? Download the Gate app today. See store for details.
Hey folks, Dave Binion here with Zero Res. At Zero Res, we love rugs. We will treat your fine Oriental rugs with the tender and loving care they deserve. Gerard, the Zero Res rug manager, is one of the few certified master rug cleaners in Florida. If you want your rugs cleaned with tender loving care, call Zero Res. Right now, get your rugs washed and we will give you 25% off. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On December 2nd, 1934, Miami quarterback Dan Marino breaks NFL's single-season touchdown pass record, throwing for his 37th, and the Dolphins lost to the Raiders.
Hey Jacksonville, Lauren Brooks here for Big Chief Tire. If you're looking for new tires, Big Chief has affordable options to fit every budget and every vehicle. Their team of experts will help you find the right tires and make sure they're installed quickly so you can get back on the road. Don't wait. Visit WeKeepJacksRollin.com or call 904-932-0950 to schedule your appointment and explore their great tire deals. Big Chief Tire keeps Jacks rolling.
Now, the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
The Young Guns kept their fight even when facing a deficit, and Big Mac would deliver in a huge moment for Jacksonville off the bench. Mac Jones would find Parker Washington for a 22-yard touchdown, making the score 23-12 with 7:49 left in the third period. The Washington score is your Performance Painting Play of the Game.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Former Jaguars quarterback David Garrard with reaction to the hit that knocked Trevor Lawrence out of Sunday's game against the Texans.
The hit on Trevor, it was just so malicious. Normally in that situation when there is contact because the quarterback slid and he slid a little late or something like that, there might be a brushing, there might be a little bit of a hit, but not a forearm to the face. You're trying to injure the guy. That can't be a part of this sport whatsoever because he's defenseless. Like, he's not even trying. You can't even protect yourself in that situation.
David Garrard on Jaguars Today. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars Update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
It's a weird year. Do you feel like the message from the coaches from the top, that's still being received as well?
Yeah, we're not quitting. Doug would never quit, Trent, anybody. So definitely not laying down. And I mean, I know all these guys need to, hopefully they do know, because I know it's like you're fighting for your football life. There's film, everyone's watching it. You never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, that gives me life. I love playing football. I love going hard. I love making plays. And I hope everyone, I know we have guys around here that feel that way. And there's 5 games left with a lot of tape that's going to be out there. So we're going to keep, I know I'm not worried about that.
You think in terms of this group and what's happened this year, could this whole group be brought back next year with a different result?
I believe so. I'm not saying in any way that this team, like, it's coaching or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this is a team that can do things. And unfortunately, we haven't had the results. But yes, I do believe that for sure.
Andrew Wingard post-game with Mia O'Brien. Look,
I'm not saying it's coaching or anything.
You slid that in there, Dewey, didn't you?
I mean, listen, it's the art of asking questions, I suppose. You know, I'd never said to him, do you believe in Doug Peterson? Do you believe in Trent Baalke? I just said, is the messaging still clear? And look, I did a little bit of a case study, if you may, last night, because I noted it on Duval Rundown, which, of course, if you're not part of our live post-game reaction shows, you need to join, especially with the Jaguars on the road this weekend. So if you're not going up to Nash Vegas, make sure as soon as the game ends, you head on over to the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. Hacker Gus, Tommy Mack do a great job breaking down the game. You can leave comments, leave your thoughts. It's also available on Facebook and X. Anywho, when I am on the road, I join that from the field. And I've had this idea floating in my head now for several weeks, and we brought it up slightly last week, Taylor Dahl, when Lauren was on vacation, and we talked about contenders versus pretenders in the AFC playoff picture. I went back and I looked, because once upon a time, yes, Shad Khan did say this was the most talented Jaguars roster ever constructed. Not too long ago, the same was said about the Los Angeles Chargers roster under Brandon Staley entering year 3, following, of course, the disappointing loss at Everbank Stadium in the AFC wildcard round. That was a Chargers team that not only saw Brandon Staley fired in the month of December, but that went 2-7 in one-score games. The Jacksonville Jaguars right now are 1-7 in one-score games. In both situations, the quarterback was banged up, tried to come back. Ultimately, the decision was made in December to shut Justin Herbert down. Now the question of should Trevor Lawrence be shut down. But I bring that up to say this. The reason I asked Dewey, could this same roster be run back? And I didn't say with different coaching, different management, but could that core group be brought back and could there be different results? Because that's what they did in Los Angeles. Yes, it's a different identity under Jim Harbaugh. Their philosophy is different. Their strength and conditioning was literally taken from the college ranks in the University of Michigan and transplanted to Southern California. But against all odds, they defied the logic of the salary cap. They were able to maintain the services of not only their marquee quarterback, who they're building around, but Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, all those big contracts that so many people thought they'd have to say goodbye to. The only two players they did were Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And Eckler. And Austin Eckler. But other than that, they were able to keep a lot of those big money names that so many people didn't think they'd be able to. And those same players that were in those one-score games a year ago that were frustrating and fighting with Brandon Staley, if not with their words, then with the philosophy itself, they're now winning.
Yeah, I think that I do think there's some upgrades that need to be made. I think that...
And there were in Los Angeles as well.
Yes, and I think when you look at now, we came into this talking especially about the secondary of, you know, the safety room. Most people were confident that it was going to be good, and it obviously hasn't been very good, so that's something you do have to keep an eye on. But I do think for the most part, when you go around, because every single person we talk to this season or the off season, we're like, the Jags will be competitive. Like on paper, they're good. Like it doesn't make sense that they're not winning football games right now, and it is one of those situations. I do think that what we've seen out of Jarian has been fantastic because it does take some pressure off.
Still don't know how he jumped off the bench.
I know.
Like the way that the pool report described it, by the way, which we'll get to that at some point in the program, like that he jumped off the bench and launched a punch. Like
I rewatched the video I watched every video that I could find yesterday to try and see Jarian throw a punch. I certainly never did.
Okay.
I never one time was I able to figure it out. I asked people who watched the broadcast on TV. They never saw anything either. So I never saw it. I'm not saying that they're wrong. Just saying I didn't see it and there was chaos. But
I personally don't mind. I wanted to punch him too. I don't mind, honestly, like the retaliation when you're protecting your quarterback. I don't mind that. Like, I love seeing these guys get fired up when they're seeing the leader of their team on the ground. Like, of course you're going to. But just going back to, yes, I think that most people would say that if you were to take this exact team where it is right now, no way that people would say that next year they would be 2-10. Like, there's just no way that you would expect that to happen with the product. But I do think that the coaching is a factor in that, and that's what we've been all kind of hammering out the last month.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall for Brandon Staley because of all the dumb decisions that he would make week in and week out. I thought the writing was on the wall here with Doug Peterson because of this result at this point in time. And also, yes, can make some in-game coaching decisions. we all questioned, the going for 2 yesterday when you
So
could have
weird.
just
Made
kicked
no
the extra point and go
sense.
down by 10. Yeah, it makes no sense at all. But at the end of the day, this is an organization that sweeping changes have to be made.
Yep.
And Shad may not do that, but that's how I feel, is that massive changes have to be made. And then, yeah, they've got to upgrade certainly lots of the positions. Talking about the secondary, overall the defense. The defense this year, outside of Trayvon Walker and Hines Allen, is a massive disappointment. When the team can just line up and run the ball down your throat, when you know all they have to do is get the one first down to pretty much end the game, and you let them with Mixon run it down your throat. I don't think I've ever seen, by the way, a person more wide open than Dalton Schultz yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
That's
multiple
disappointing.
times. I'm like, what is going on?
Right. And it's so frustrating, I'm sure, too, because in the first half, the defense was playing really well and the offense was terrible. And
Yeah.
then in the second half, the offense finally was able to pick it up a little bit. And then the defense fell apart.
Yeah.
So obviously
They
that's
can
how
never get it all at the same time.
That's how they don't win football games. By the way, I just looked at, since you mentioned Nashville, Mia, I just looked at the weather. Raining and high of 53 on Sunday. So if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play in the rain, if that's indeed what the weather happens, then I'm certainly fine by that.
I will say really quick, Lauren, because we were talking about this last week when we were talking about the disappointment that the defense has been. Obviously, Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon. Last week we were talking about this, and I was like, the next person, the Jags player that has the next most sacks, isn't even here anymore, and that's Roy Robertson Harris with 3. Like, that's how much that drop-off is between your two guys and everything else.
Yeah, and I should say, Foye Oluokun plays well every time he's out on the football field. I thought yesterday Devin Lloyd had one of his better games. Ventrell Miller, we obviously have seen him fly around as well.
First off, they had Devin Lloyd, first play of the game, blitzing over a guard. Who would have thought that maybe that's let's lean into what he's good at. I'll give you guys this. I was doing the sideline reporting for the UNF women's basketball tournament over the weekend for their Thanksgiving Day tournament. Shout out to the Lady Ospreys. And one of the opposing coaches, in the heat of a one-possession game, looked at her 5 players who were on the floor at that point during a timeout and said, "What do you do good? What do you do good? What do you do good? Do that." That is where this team should have been about 5 weeks ago. There should have been a conversation of, what does Devin Lloyd do well? What does Trayvon Walker do well?
Yeah.
Let's only put them.
Where does Eric Armstead actually play?
You're not wrong. What does Darnell Savage do well? What does Ronald Darby do well?
Yeah.
And then put them in those positions to succeed. And I think you finally saw traces of that yesterday for Devin Lloyd.
And for, honestly, Brian Thomas Jr., too. Like, when you're seeing what he did yesterday, I'm like, this is exactly where and how you want to use BTJ on that field. I love the energy he brings, because every time he gets a first down, he just goes absolutely ballistic, and I love it so much. I'm like, I'm falling more in love with this guy every week. But, like, just the play, but also you need those guys. Like, you need that energy, and it feels like even when you're not winning football games right now, and you still get that energy out of guys like BTJ, and I love that.
Brian Thomas Jr. is a weapon that has been underutilized this season, and he is going to be, at least from what he's shown his rookie season, one of the best wide receivers in all of the NFL. Like, yes, get him the football.
Yes.
Are we talking draft?
Not yet.
My tangent is a little bit drafty.
Okay. Well, we are going to talk college football, yes, coming up in the 1 o'clock hour?
Yes.
Okay. So, Travis Hunter, let's have a conversation. I am finding myself more and more in the Travis Hunter camp, not because he hauled in 3 touchdowns and a pick in his final regular season collegiate game, but because Travis Hunter, to your point, Taylor, has the juice and is an alpha. That is what is missing here. And certainly there will be those of you, including many of our colleagues here at 1010XL, who will clamor for offensive line help, and rightfully so. But what I see as the biggest glaring need right now, and what you can see in glimpses from a BTJ, or for what it's worth from Evan Ingram, because he certainly brings the juice, and we saw it full throttle after the collision between Trevor Lawrence and Azeez Al-Shaair yesterday.
Are you playing him both ways?
That I'm still figuring out. But that doesn't matter, because he's a good football player who is an alpha.
Yeah.
Right now, you are at a juncture in this franchise's history, and I feel like I've said this for a couple months now, but it's so apparent. You have leaders on this team. There's no question that Trevor Lawrence is a leader. Trayvon Walker is certainly finding himself as a leader. I feel like I've said more and more this season than any other that he's giving not only great sound bites because he is involved in the leadership council, and so he has a voice there, but you see him in the locker room taking younger guys under his wing. You have leaders but you don't have that guy. And I'm not sure Brian Thomas Jr. is ever going to be that guy. I think he could develop into someone who's on a leadership council or whatever the regime eventually, whoever the regime is, decides to have. I think he could be a captain. But who is that guy?
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest gaping hole right now. And look, I said it a few weeks ago. You may not like me to say this, but I'm going to say it. Arden Key was a cheap Dollar Tree brand of that guy. Sorry, it's just reality. And ever since Arden Key built the city and walked out that door, who has been that vocal, get in your face, but also say, hey, this is how we play here. This is our identity, and this is the standard we're going to set. Who is that guy?
I'll clap back at this, Taylor, as far as Travis Hunter. Who's Travis Hunter's head coach?
Oh, Deion.
Yeah. Deion Sanders, the biggest loudmouth.
Also his idol.
And obviously all the cockiness in the entire world. I do think that players can tend
Feed
to
off of
reflect
that.
their
Yes.
head coach's personality. Here in Jacksonville, the head coach's personality is not that at all.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, I said it earlier, if I was him, I would have been so irate in that post-game press conference. He's been more upset and had longer pauses, asked about stuff that wasn't nearly as damning as that cheap shot.
So I texted you. I texted Mia over the weekend because obviously the Bears finally fired Matt Eberflus. But Jalen Johnson, I guess, lost it in the locker room after they ended up losing that. And if you didn't see it, they had 36 seconds on the clock. Matt Eberflus didn't call a timeout. It's the fourth time this season he's done that, where he's like let the clock run down, and people are like, "What is going on?" His time management's terrible. But Jalen Johnson became that leader and became that alpha in that moment and went into the locker room and yes, maybe lost his temper maybe a little more than he should have, but apparently lost it on Matt Eberflus and was like, you're not taking accountability. This team, like, we're playing our butts off right now, and now we've lost in a Hail Mary that you had let the time run down again with that, and then also played prevent and let Terry McLaurin get 12 yards. It's like situation after situation. Cairo Santos missed the field goal. He lined him up on the right hash mark, and everyone's like, why? He kicks everything from the other hash. Why are we changing things right now? Jalen flipped, and you know what that led to? Matt Eberflus getting fired the next day. And you need that energy sometimes.
And I will clap back at this. Andy Reid. Would you describe him as a Deion Sanders type?
No. He has some feistiness.
He has way more feistiness than.
But
is he
what you, Lauren, just described as Deion Sanders?
No, he's definitely a different personality than that. But I guarantee if you went into a closed door meeting with Andy Reid, that he would rip your head off if need be.
Okay. Point is, Andy Reid is not sounding off in the same way you just described Deion Sanders in the media spotlight. He has two alphas. He actually has three if you want to include Chris Jones as well, and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I would say they are more of a reflection of his competitive spirit than they are his, mild-mannered nature when it comes to dealing with the media. Travis Kelce, as we know, is not afraid to grab a microphone. Ditto to Patty Mahomes. But they exhibit that alpha leader energy that, yes, is in contrast to their head coach. That can exist. So I don't want to just clump Travis Hunter as he's a byproduct of Deion Sanders. He's attached to him, and that's who he is. I don't think that is right in evaluating, which we're going to be evaluating him for the next 4 months. Can't wait for that. But the point is that I don't think you're an alpha just because, well, this is the system that I'm in, and this is who my head coach is, and I am a reflection of him.
No, you are who your personality is. That's obvious. Like, everyone is going to do it differently. But at the end of the day,
there's people that can fuel it into bigger energy.
Yeah, I love, to your point, Taylor, I love what I've seen from Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
In addition to the pandemonium that incurred after, again, the Shire hit on Trevor, like, he was ready to fight. And he always feels like he could be that loose cannon type of thing. But at the end of the day, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a team that, whether it's the personality that they don't have as far as the alpha males in that locker room, or whether it's the coaching decisions that have been made, or whether it's they just did not mesh into a good football team, either way, they have 2 victories.
Yeah.
And one, they pretty much got lucky to win as far as the Colts.
Also, was Doug calling the plays yesterday?
I don't know.
It kept showing him on the sideline, and it definitely looked like he was. And I'm like, interesting, because he kept saying last week, oh, we made some internal changes, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. And I'm like, did he take things from press?
Yeah, to my knowledge.
I mean, we're not going to ever really know.
No,
but.
to my knowledge, that was not. Okay. That's no. To my knowledge, if anything, Press Taylor asked for more and wanted to be more involved in more areas of the offense.
Because they were showing him, they kept zooming in on Doug, and he was definitely at moments, and who knows, because we know they split it in other situations a couple years ago, so maybe it was that, like, certain downs or something, Doug's taking over.
Well, we don't know for sure if they split it.
That's true.
I started to think more about that. Doug Peterson never said that he called plays in the first half. And
we just kind of heard
called plays
that.
in the second
What,
half.
in 2022?
Yeah.
Well,
No, that's a fact.
all he said was Press Taylor called plays in the second half.
Oh, okay.
He never told us for sure
Like, I
that
did
he
this and he
called
did this.
plays in the first half.
No.
All we know for sure is that Press called him in the second half.
Right. I don't know how many games, but I can tell you in the second half of that season, in the second half of games, it was Press.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
He never actually told us that Doug never told us that Doug was calling plays in
Doug
the first half.
playing games again, where he was like, it was the whole. He was calling for the whole game, but I'm going to tell you, it was the second half of the game.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone has always assumed that Doug called plays in the first half of all those games. But I don't think that's a correct assumption at this point in time.
To bring this conversation full circle, I just do want to go back to that Los Angeles Chargers comparison, because I do think there is an argument to be made as we have this conversation of the alpha. You need a Jalen Johnson who's not afraid to hold coaches accountable. You need a Arden Key who's not afraid to say this is our standard and we're going to stick to it, whether you look at that as a loudmouth or you look at that as an alpha and that being a gaping hole on this roster. I do think that nature can be empowered to our point of being a reflection of your culture, your ecosystem, and your coach. I say that to say Jim Harbaugh came in, and there are clear signs of not only players who find themselves and feel empowered to be the alpha they were destined to be because Jim Harbaugh is so in your face and so transparent and so forward. But I think you also see, even though I jinxed him last week, Quentin Johnston, a prime example of a player who had question marks coming out of TCU, 11% drop rate, struggled his rookie year amidst all the chaos going on with the Brandon Staley failed final season. And you have seen, even if last week he dropped 5 passes, you have seen a player who looks more confident. And maybe he's not their alpha, but that confidence comes from the system, and that is solely by changing the ecosystem, even if the players are the same.
The confidence comes when you trust your head coach, you trust your offensive coordinator, and you trust your defensive coordinator as well. That's where that confidence comes in late games, when you feel like you have everything you need in order to go win. And when you don't, we see what happens. Like I said, busted coverages and trying to run between the tackles with ETN at this point in time. Like, you already know that's not going to work, but we'll be critical of this team for a lot longer than just today. All right, we will get to college football when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. There's a reason that they've won the best tire shop for the 5th year in a row for the Community Choice Awards. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Let's go. Game day gets here a little quicker with Pregame Friday. Here we go. Who's in? Who's out? Who's on upset watch?
Exactly.
We'll get you ready for the games.
All right, you ready?
Brought to you by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
It's holiday time at Best Bet St. Augustine and Orange Park. Get ready for thrilling promotions and tournaments all month long. Don't miss the 12 days of Christmas high hands with over $330,000 in payouts and the Clockwork Cash Out Table Games promotion, giving away $300 in cash every 15 minutes on select weekends. Celebrate the season with nonstop excitement at Best Bet. For all the details, head over to bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Mia here for my friends at ProJax Roofing. Meteorological hurricane season has finally come to a close. But if your roof took on any damage at all during Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Milton, know that ProJax Roofing is still here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. While we hope everyone stayed safe during hurricane season, hey, the cold weather, that's coming too. If you need any help with your roof, call ProJax Roofing at 904-338-1722 or visit them online at projaxroofingfl.com.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Mac Jones had that dog in him Sunday in Jacksonville. The Duval native went 20 of 32 for 235 yards and threw for 2 touchdowns in what was an absolute masterclass. Number 10 was a perfect 10 for the Teal and Black and is your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
It's the end of the year sale with Universal Roof and Contracting. Get 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a $250 gift card for holiday shopping. With financing options as low as $150 a month, protecting your home's never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP, and this offer expires December 31st. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
It's a sale so big, Santa wants to get in on it.
It's Beard's Diamond's incredible 44th anniversary sale, held over until Christmas Eve. Everything store-wide is on sale, up to 44% off.
Beard's Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center or beardsdiamonds.com.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Jingle bells, septic's gone astray. Oh, don't let your holiday stink in the worst kind of way. Call Duck Duck Rooter and we'll save your sleigh and your day.
904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
When my wrist pain was acting up and I needed help, I took Dan Hickens' advice and headed over to see the experts at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. This is Stuart Moore with the PGA Tour. I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you have a need, they took great care of me. They'll take great care of you.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. The next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Why do you choose Farah and Farah? First, we have the financial resources to take on any insurance company, and our track record proves that we know how to win. Our attorneys and staff are a team, and we've worked together for decades. To us, our job is much more than just a paycheck. We love to help. And this is important. We never forget. It's not about us. It's all about you. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
What is the only city to host both the Summer and Winter Olympics? The answer next.
Does your homeowner's insurance company contact you before, during, or after a big storm? If not, then it's time for you to contact Southern Oak Insurance. Find us online at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Beijing is the only city that has hosted both the Summer and the Winter Olympics.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about being a peacemaker. Friends, so often we can only want to help people who are in our inner circle. But God never had inner circles. The world was his inner circle, and he's depending on us to make a difference and to leave our mark in this life. So go out today receiving his peace and then sharing it with the world.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Experience the winning combination of style and performance with Renewal by Andersen, energy-efficient, custom-built replacement windows and doors. Right now, buy one window or patio door and get one 40% off. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. The first 50 customers get a free TrueScreen upgrade, but this offer expires December 31st. Renewal by Andersen, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Prize Picks. The Florida Gators won their 8th consecutive game to start a season for the first time since 2009 with Friday's victory over Wichita State in the championship game of the ESPN Events Invitational, with Gator Walter Clayton Jr. being named the tournament's most valuable player. Gators head coach Todd Golden spoke on their hot start to the season and expressed pride in his team.
Hard to win championships. You talked about it before. You get four opportunities. Generally, each year you get your MTE, your regular season conference championship, your conference tournament championship, and then NCAA championship. Getting one in a year is tough to do. We got our first. Just really proud of the way we played. I felt like we made a jump as a team over the past couple of days. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, we've shown the ability to guard. And if we can continue to grow on that side of the ball and maintain our efficiency on the offensive end, we're going to be tough to beat. Really proud of the way our guys have competed. Just being 8-0 is hard to do, and we're off to a good start.
It's 61 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
That Wednesday of that first open date, that's where I kind of saw our guys change tunes a little bit, change gears as competitors, right? Get back to playing the game, enjoying playing the game. And then I think the way we competed on the road at Tennessee in that first half, we really showed up and fought our tails off and, thought we were in position to win that game. And then obviously that transition to Kentucky, and then the way we competed against Georgia, just all these things kept adding up. But in general, taking pride in how we compete on game day.
The comments of Billy Napier following Florida's defeat over Florida State, 31-11. That was fun for Florida fans. By the way, before we go any further, speaking of Florida fans, today's my dad's birthday, so happy birthday to my dad. He was obviously very happy with the win. He wasn't thrilled, though, that Florida volleyball got a 6th seed. He thought that was very underrated for Florida volleyball.
I love it. Yeah, my brother's birthday also. I didn't know they shared birthdays, so happy birthday, Colin, and what's your dad's? Mike. And Mike.
It's funny, we were somewhere recently and someone said, just ask or just say that you know Mike, because there's always a Mike, and then you'll be fine no matter what you're doing. Yeah. And I was like, that's true. My dad and brother's names are Mike. All right. So yeah, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators go into Doak Campbell, and it was, I thought, closer than I expected for a little while. And then, of course, you had all the sacks for Florida, and you have now the bowl game, and certainly people want to know if Florida's going to the Gator Bowl. I don't know that at this point in time, obviously, yet. But the way that Billy Napier turned the season around by beating LSU, beating Ole Miss, and then obviously beating Florida State as well, if I had told anyone that preseason, they would have said, then Napier's keeping his job.
If you told anybody that in October, they would be like,
also,
what happened? Is this an alternate universe?
Yeah.
Like, did we enter the upside down?
That is
calendar turn.
Yeah, that is college football this season, though.
Yes.
Like, just when you thought, okay, Ohio State's going to roll Michigan for the first time in 4 years, and you thought, well, of course, Miami's knows that it has to beat Syracuse, and they're up big early. Like, that's been college football all
like
season long.
every game this weekend, I was like, this is fantastic.
Well, it's rivalry weekend, and before we dive into even more of the games, I need to get both of your opinions.
Mm-hmm.
The flag planting.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because
I've never seen more games in a single weekend.
Right.
And then you throw in the melee that happened in the Jags game.
yeah.
And I'm just like, man, alive.
Yeah,
like,
it
I've
was
never
crazy.
seen this much fighting on a football field in 48 hours in my lifetime.
So when you go back to the one that most people remember as being kind of the first one in Baker Mayfield,
I was just
and
about
planting
to say.
the flag in
It was like
Columbus.
in the turf, though, and everyone was like, okay, it's not going to stick in there.
Right. Like, everyone seemed to applaud that, and yet when it came to the ones this past weekend, everyone seemed to say, you definitely can't plant the flag. You know that's their turf, their field, what have you. If you lose the game on your home turf,
that's on you.
That's on your team.
And I go back and forth, because when it happens to my team, I'm angry. So I get it for fans being upset about it. But I do think it is part of the game. Like, they know that is the thing. That's kind of like that It is disrespectful, but it's the ultimate, like, we got you. Like, this is your logo, and this is the moment. And they were posting from the Notre Dame USC game because Notre Dame met in the middle, but they all literally were, like, in a circle around, like, not even touching USC logos.
They were probably praying.
Yeah. But everyone's
well,
like, that
I have
is
a story
like the
on that,
sign
but
of
continue.
Yeah, and they were like, that's one of the signs of, like, respecting your, like, a rivalry, an old rivalry. And then you have the ones where it's kind of like, nope, we hate you, and we're not going to be there.
This one, especially for Florida State, and that's the one I'll speak to the most. A year ago, Florida was one of the worst teams in all of college football, and Florida State was one of the best. And yes, the whole Jordan Travis thing that made that game closer, but still Florida State pulled out the victory. So much has changed in that last year. All the emotions of your head coach is getting fired, you're going to get Lane Kiffin. If you don't get Lane Kiffin, who are you going to get? And then now Mike Norvell certainly on much more of a hot seat, even though they can't fire him due to financial reasons.
We were hiring Gundy at one point.
I was never hiring Mike Gundy. Let the record reflect. I hated that suggestion in the moment. But all of that goes into, they know what's said on social media. They know what people have said about them as players and things like that. So I think all of that goes into it. And you go to Doak Campbell, and you're thrilled that you were able to take your rivals down, and the way that Jaden Baugh was able to seal the game and everything like that. You have freshmen that are like DJ Lagway looks insane. Great. And so all of that I think goes into it.
My criticism, because I am okay with flag planting. If you win the game,
that's the alpha, right?
Take
like
your victory lap. That's just the reality. You're not fighting anyone.
Yeah.
You're not punching anyone. You're just planting the flag. And while it may hurt that home team in that rivalry game, you should be fueling that, i.e., how many times have we seen in playoff games and Super Bowls, most notably Stephon Diggs after they lost, after the Buffalo Bills lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the image of him watching them celebrate. Why do we celebrate that? But yet, in college football, the response is, well, we shouldn't be looking at that and saying, I'm going to use this as motivation. Instead, it's, I need to go fight them right now. And in the case of Florida State, when Mike Norvell is the one who's grabbing the flag, like, dude.
A little much there.
A little much. And I also don't like Ryan Day just sitting idly by and going, what happened? What happened? I don't like that either. But it was just...
I think he was in shock.
It was just the weirdest of weekends when it comes to the discourse surrounding postgame. But I will take your point about praying and bring it back to one of the first games of the weekend. Yes, here's your Iowa reference of the program.
Oh, I thought we were going Georgia Tech.
No, we will get to that because that was the best game of the weekend, even though it was absurd. It was not the dumbest because Iowa-Nebraska, in which Iowa had 3 first downs and still won the football game. That was the dumbest game. But what happened and what was not dumb was pregame. The Nebraska players evidently wanted to pray at midfield on the Hawkeye logo. And evidently, they do this before every game. Now, there was security on the field, and the security said, hey, you can do it on the periphery. We can't let you right in the middle just because we want to avoid any tempers flaring and Iowa players being mad that you're standing on the logo. And Nebraska fans were upset about that. The players were upset about that. Matt Rule retaliated by walking through the warm-up line for Iowa and just like not saying, just like awkwardly like bumped through the linebacking core, like warming up. And they were like, what? And then the tip of the iceberg was when during the coin toss, the Nebraska players refused to shake the Iowa players' hands. And look, it's splitting hairs. It's the same dumb conversation we have about the post-game handshake line when it comes to basketball. Yeah. But ultimately, for Nebraska to then be upset at the end of that game that Iowa players ran up to Matt Rule and tried to shake his hand, like in the grand scheme of this weekend, that was an omen of probably what was to come because it was so little. But it also speaks to, it's not just the post-game that we had to have this discourse about. Yeah. This whole concept of, well, I want to stand on the, like, what is it with the logo? Why do we all want to be on the logo? Because I don't understand.
That's what represents the like school. And that's been the same for these schools for hundreds of years.
But that's if you're the home team. Like, what? Like, so that's where the planting the flag, you're planting something in their heart.
Correct.
I respect that. But so why do you need to pray on it before if it's not your logo?
That's a good question. I've never heard of a team that prayed on the logo in general. Obviously, normally you see it more like
in the end zone, right? Yeah,
because
so
that's
I don't know what
area.
Nebraska.
That's why I'm like, maybe it's a tradition thing, and there are weird traditions in college football that go back, and so I don't know. I had never heard of that one too.
Huskers fans can probably explain it better to us. But 2 things that stood out to me as far as Georgia Tech. One, Georgia getting down yet again by double digits and finding a way to come back. And 2, why didn't Georgia Tech run the ball during any of their overtime 2-point conversion?
They were too busy taking timeouts, Lauren. They were too busy focused on the timeouts.
What is the one thing that Georgia Tech has done well all game long, all season long? Running the ball. If I was a Tech fan, I would have been furious.
Yeah. Especially with the way that Haynes King was running the ball, too, which obviously that's his biggest trait. Yeah.
Oh, my
But
gosh.
the way he was able to use it, both like his arm and his legs during that game so much, but the fact that you wouldn't use his biggest strength in that moment is wild.
And I understand that because it's a 2-point conversion. It's not, just lining up and running the ball on a 4th and 1 situation. I understand that. But that's what you do. I just couldn't believe every time they're throwing the ball. I was like, first of all, also, we're never going to sleep. That's the other thing that I thought.
My God.
At whatever time it was past midnight. This game started at 7:30. Like, come on, man.
It took multiple days to finish some clean, old-fashioned hate. Because,
it sure did. That's why I thought it was funny. The clean, old-fashioned 8 or something like that is what the SEC tweeted out. But look, Georgia escapes, and this college football playoff rankings that people have hotly debated for the last few weeks, I've said we're not going to do that on the show because there's no point. Let's wait and see what happens.
How it all shakes out, yeah.
And this Saturday at 4 o'clock is the SEC Championship, Georgia, Texas. I have no idea what's going to happen in that game, but I know you'll see a steady dose of Matthew McConaughey as we have all season long.
Oh, yeah. And, I think that is one of the games because we've been kind of waiting for Texas to play somebody where we could really evaluate what Texas is, and I don't even know if Texas A&M is that any,
But they played Georgia, and they look terrible.
Terrible, yeah. And so it is going to be, I think it'll be one where going into it, you can expect, wouldn't be surprised if Texas won by 2 touchdowns, but you wouldn't be surprised if Georgia won by 2 touchdowns, and it feels like it's that type of vibe of a game.
If it comes down to the final kick, I feel like everyone's going to be holding their breath just because college kickers and everything. And so in the Big Ten, we have Penn State, Oregon. I feel like Oregon's going to win that one by 2 touchdowns, but
please.
I know.
Please. I'm begging you, Dan Lanning, like for the good of us all. Like, Penn State's in the playoff, win or lose, which is.
I mean, if they get destroyed, they shouldn't be. And I don't think Indiana should be, but
can we get justice for Shane Beamer? That's all I really want. I would like justice for the Fighting Beamers. I love these kids. I love this school. Running around. Lenore Sellers should be a Heisman candidate. Ultimately, though, when you look at South Carolina's resume, and I don't want to get into a debate of the SEC strength of schedule versus the Big Ten strength of schedule, because I think each SEC and Big Ten schedule for each team are independently created. But I can't help but look at their resume and look at the fight and the growth of that team, and then look at Penn State. And it hurts my heart. And maybe it's because I'm rooting for Shane Beamer.
Yeah.
Lenore Sellers is, if you watch him play, you are inspired.
Yes. And look, for me, I would rather see that team that is chaotic as all get out in a battle with Indiana than I would Penn State round 2 with. Or they didn't even play Indiana. So therefore, again, that's strength of schedule. But point being, I'm very fascinated to see what the committee does because I think they're just going to keep it chalk. And
we'll see. If I was a Clemson fan, I would have been furious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all you had to do was kick the field goal. And I know some people say, but you play to win, and that would have, just tied it. I get that, but your quarterback in certain situations, Cade Klubnik, doesn't understand what he's supposed to do. So instead of throwing the ball at least out of the end zone like he should have done, that's when he threw the interception. And I literally said to Brian live, I said, I don't like this. I think this is bad news for them that he might throw a pick here. And he's like, but yes, you throw it out the end zone. You don't make that decision. But I was like, but you don't even put him in that situation. You kick the field goal and you move along. But either way, Dabo Sweeney, Ryan Day. Yeah, and Kyle McCord tweeted out.
Also, shout out Fran Brown. We're going to come back with Fran Brown. How about that? We got to come back with Fran.
All right, you are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. We cook up a big pregame breakfast early on game day so you get a healthy helping of football and fun.
Breakfast of Champions.
On the Terminix Kickoff Show. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade 5 hours before kickoff on 1010XL.
Yo, what's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T. And I'm going to keep it real. We could all benefit from a little something extra in the bedroom. Blue Chew can help. And I'm about to tell you how you can get some for free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. No doctor visits, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew ships right to your door in a discreet package. Not even them nosy neighbors gonna know what's going on. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. And did I mention the chewable? Just like popping a Mentos. And they're made right here in the good old US of A. Now you're asking, how do I get my Blue Chew? Visit BlueChew.com and make sure to enter promo code 1010XL at checkout. Try it for free and just pay $5 shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's right. Use promo code 1010XL and let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Have you heard? Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are aiming to sell 1,000 vehicles this December. How? I've told my team to take all reasonable offers. We won't lose your business over price. With thousands of cars, trucks, and SUVs on the ground, all priced to sell, we guarantee the most money for your trade and the easiest car buying experience ever. I promise we ain't leaving nothing on the table. This is the absolute last weekend. Visit Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We're here to wow you.
Mia here for MyBookie. What a weekend we just had in the betting streets. Did you cash in betting with MyBookie? If you didn't, you have Monday Night Football tonight, baby. The Cleveland Browns are on extra rest, traveling to play the Denver Broncos. If you haven't heard us say it, a Denver Broncos win eliminates the Big Cats from postseason contention. Both of these teams are coming off a win. The Broncos are 5.5-point favorites and a 42-point over-under. The Broncos have been taking care of business against teams with a losing record, so I'd expect them to win by a touchdown and cover the spread at home against Jameis Winston and the Browns. Maybe some snow changes that. MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors. Our listeners can sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. That's promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie. And don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WonderWorld wants you to do. WonderWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WonderWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WonderWorld can.
And with WonderWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WonderWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WonderWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WonderWorld, and to top it off, WonderWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WonderWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WonderWorld today and get your free in-home estimate or see them online at WonderWorldNEFlorida.com.
WonderWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to our website, CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com. And let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
Grab your lucky spot on the couch, because traditions make Sunday easy to enjoy. Bud Light, easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, 1010XL family. Dr. Chris Cott PT here with Premier Physical Therapy of Jacksonville. Are aches and pains holding you back from doing activities you love? Pickleball, golf, or just day-to-day living? Are your kids struggling with injuries and need to get back in the game? My team of experts are ready to serve you at 3 locations: Ponte Vedra, San Pablo, and Phillips Highway. Visit PremierPTJacks.com or call today at 904-996-6922, 904-996-6922, PremierPTJacks.com, where your journey to wellness begins.
Jacksonville's football phenoms tell us where they're heading when high school's early signing period begins. I'm Hacker, and 1010XL will tell you everything you need to know.
College football's early signing period coverage is brought to you by
San Jose Collision.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
There were so many great games in college football this weekend. There were so many quotable moments, but none compare to the scene. And I love you, Canes Heeligans. I love you, the U. None compared to Syracuse head coach Fran Brown after Syracuse's upset of the Miami Hurricanes.
Coach, you guys down 21 points at one point. What did this team show you with that comeback today?
Dark. We committed. We love each other. We truly love each other. It's amazing. I'm just very thankful. I'm excited. These fans. Syracuse back. Syracuse is back. I just love it. Hey, Kirby Smart, thank you for that message earlier, Kirby. It means so much to me, Coach Smart. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you.
LeQuint Allen, what he was able to do today, what impressed you the most about LeQuint's performance?
LeQuint's the toughest person on our team. This is why LeQuint will be a draft pick and play in the NFL for a long time. He's the toughest person on our team.
Coach, you said in your pregame speech, this is your championship game. How does it feel?
Well, it's a championship game. We worked our butts off for it, fell short a few times, and then we got the opportunity to do this. Hey, Dabo Swinney, congrats. I got you in, baby. I'll holler at you later.
You get a shower?
Hey, guess what? I'm getting washed. Hey.
We have to play the whole
It's
minute and 11. I told Taylor, she hadn't heard it yet. I'm like, it's banger after
so
banger after banger.
Given all the shout outs.
He said that he doesn't shower after they lose.
Oh, okay.
And so they won.
He
so
said, I get a shower.
Yes, he's washed now. I also, now listening back to it for like the 5th time, because he was speaking with Dawn Davenport, one of our our counterparts up in Nashville with 3HL on 104.5 The Zone. And I'm now wondering, with the first answer, did he say dog or did he say Dawn? We love each other. I think he actually may have said Dawn.
Yeah, I think
we
so.
love each other. So kudos to Fran Brown. I'm sorry, Canes fans. I know you still got an outside shot at the playoff, even if you're not playing for an ACC title. And Dabo Swinney, man, the sky is blue, water is wet. He will find a way to be competitive down the stretch of an ACC calendar year.
Clemson SMU just doesn't have the same excitement to me for an ACC championship game that it could. But certainly we'll be watching Saturday night. That one kicks off at 8 o'clock. All right, time now for Taylor's Tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
All right, so I said I had a little bit of draft talk.
A little bit.
I've been
the
waiting.
Jaguars are like a little bit eliminated, but not fully eliminated.
Yes.
So I like that.
I have been avoiding that. I haven't looked at mocks yet. I haven't really started diving into it. It's probably about time now. So I just wanted to, I mentioned earlier in the show too, the safety play here in Jacksonville and how it needs help. So there's some really good safeties coming out into the draft this year. Obviously, Malachi Stark's the big one that a lot of people talk about. Kamari Ramsey is the next. But I want to talk about Xavier Watts of the Fighting Irish.
Yep.
He is so much fun to watch, and he is definitely going. I don't know where exactly right now. PFF has him ranked the 3rd best safety in college football, and they have him going at like 58. So I'll be hammering for this guy because I would love to see him here. He's fantastic. But this was his stats this last weekend against USC. So the last 3 years, so Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts versus USC the last 3 years, 25 tackles, 3 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 that he got in this last game, 161 interception return yards, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. He's just, and this is just these numbers. If you go through and you look at him from game to game, he is so much fun to watch. He's all over the field. He just brings that energy when we're talking about the energy that you want to
Find
add to
the alphas.
Yes. And he has that energy. There were moments yesterday against that game with USC where it was close and like you were getting nervous, and every time you needed a big play out of Watts, he was there making that play. And so he's definitely going to be one as we're getting closer to this draft talk, and especially looking at how the Jags will need to address safety at some point. We'll see if that's a free agency thing or if we see if it's a draft thing. But he has just been fantastic, so I wanted to give some love to him because it is a position that we will be looking towards and talking about.
Other than maybe backup quarterback, which position will we be not looking at and
that's
discussing?
What I was like,
I guess
right
linebacker,
left tackle and right tackle.
Yeah, still
at
need
this
swing
juncture.
tackle, and then maybe inside linebacker. You feel good about what you have there?
Yeah.
And edges.
Yeah,
You
off-ball
have
linebacker. Off-ball linebacker, you feel off-ball linebacker is difficult because you would have Chad Muma entering the final year of a contract, Devin Lloyd entering the final year of a contract, but then the question becomes, do both of those players fit the scheme of whoever is making the decisions?
Yeah.
And additionally, are you moving both those players in a contract year? You'd have Foye Oluokun, you'd have Ventrell Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say that position, but I'm not so sure you can.
Kicker, punter, long snapper.
You go. No, those three. They're all under contract.
Poor Cam Little, by the way. I was like, and he's so good. And then he's had a few of those this year where it's like when the eyes are on him too. Yeah, when the eyes are on him in the big moments.
Was yesterday.
I was like,
and yesterday was perfect weather. There wasn't much wind, clear blue sky, 55-yarder. You got to make that these days. And of course, what was the difference in the game?
Yep.
Jaguars lost 23-20.
Yep.
So it certainly would have mattered, I think, for sure. We've got one segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online. WeKeepJacksRollin.com on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
This is Chelsea with Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors. Here's what people are saying about working with us.
Installers were professional, courteous, and efficient.
Great customer service. On time, explained the process, and walked me through the installation. Amazing team.
Our experience with Renewal by Anderson was outstanding from the beginning to end.
Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com.
License number CGC 1527613.
Renewal by Anderson, custom windows and doors.
Hey guys, Taylor Doll here of Helmets and Heels. The Chick-fil-A Peppermint Chip Milkshake is a holiday tradition that's back for another season. Hand spun the old-fashioned way, this festive peppermint-flavored milkshake is made with Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert and features chips of crunchy peppermint bark. It's minty, merry, and topped with whipped cream and cherry when served in stores. Order now on your Chick-fil-A app or at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Hey gang, Prosser here, telling you once again about Chad and Sandy Newman. Mortgage rates are down, creating more active buyers and sellers. If you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving down prices. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. They can handle that. You see, Chad and Sandy can take every problem you think you have and replace it with a promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. The success stories are rolling in. Mike and Lisa in McCormick. We inherited a family home that came with equity but also a mortgage. We needed to sell fast to avoid extra expenses on a second mortgage. We heard about Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Everything they say on the radio is true. The home sold in 3 days for full asking price. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's ChadAndSandy.com.
You want to know what 3 little words everyone wants to hear, especially this time of the year? Toyotathon is on, and it's going on now at Arlington Toyota. Mia, here, Arlington's lot is packed with hundreds of new Toyotas, and they're all marked with Toyotathon savings. How big are those savings? How about financing as low as 0% on select new models? 0%! When was the last time you heard the word zero? But before you get all caught up in the frenzy like me, remember that with every new purchase at Arlington, you get the benefit of their 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new Toyota purchase or exchange it for one that you do for total buying confidence. Plus, every new purchase from Arlington Toyota comes with their lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. So where should you get your Toyotathon savings? From Arlington Toyota. With a 4.7 out of 5-star rating and over 21,000 Google reviews, they do Toyotathon right. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online at arlingtontoyota.com. ArlingtonToyota.com.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
The Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa is the perfect place for indulging in a pampering spa treatment. This holiday season, give the gift of wellness with a gift card and take advantage of the spa's current promotion. With the purchase of a $75 gift card or more, guests get a credit towards a future service. With healing massages, revitalizing facial treatments, and more, a day at the Sawgrass Spa makes the perfect gift. Purchase in person at Sawgrass Spa during operating hours.
Mark Watson here to tell you a little bit about hardballcreative.com. It's your online promo haven with thousands of ideas on how to promote your company. We're open 24/7, 365.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Homeowners, listen up. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Hey, it's Prosser here, and the Fed has dropped the rates again. The election is over, and Loan Pronto has APRs in the low 5s for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans. If your current mortgage rate is over 6%, or if you're in the process with another lender, don't settle. Call Loan Pronto now for a second opinion. Lock a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. And if you act now, you won't make your first payment till February. This 5-minute call saves homeowners an average of $5,000, lower rates and lower fees. So get your Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. It's Loan Pronto. Call them at 904-999-1508, or you can visit loanpronto.com. That's Loan Pronto at 904-999-1508, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
She's seen and heard all over 1010XL's video and social channels.
Whether the big cats are at the bank or on the road, I'm there too. Follow my updates all season long, on air and online.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars rookie sensation Brian Thomas Jr. found the end zone yet again on Sunday against Houston.
Two left, two right, shotgun for Mac Jones. Mac drops the throw. Looking, fires toward the back of the end zone. That ball's going to be caught for the touchdown in the back of the end zone. Brian Thomas Jr. for the score.
Frank Frangie with the call on Jaguars radio. For Brian Thomas Jr., it's his team-high 6th receiving touchdown of the season, which ties Allen Hurns for the most in franchise history by a rookie. BTJ scored touchdowns in both games this season against Houston. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
We can't have a Taylor's Tangent without a Chick-fil-A giveaway.
Yeah, let's give away some lunch on the ladies. Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 3.
Call number 3, 641-1010. You're our winner today. So apparently, Trevor Lawrence is the guy that he kind of slammed back at when...
Oh, yes. He just dunked on him. It's fine.
He did. Well, that guy since then has deleted his post.
Oh, good.
His account and put his account on private, or deleted his post and put his account on private.
Love that journey. Love that journey. Listen, if you're gonna talk that talk, you better walk that walk. Don't play with fire. You're gonna get burned.
Yeah. If you missed the beginning of the show, I believe that Azeez Al-Shaair needs to be suspended for the entire rest of the season, not just 4 games, because that doesn't include the postseason. I think it needs to be, or it can be an indefinite suspension. It can go into some of next year if they'd like. I doubt they'll do that. I heard Baselli on with the drill this morning, and he said 2 games is what he expects. I like I said, researched about Kareem Jackson, who had multiple injuries or caused multiple injuries last year to the head and neck area and was suspended 4 games. So I wouldn't be surprised there is precedent for something like that, because we've seen him do things against the Chicago Bears earlier this season. And then, of course, there's the video, too, of where
Tom Brady.
Yep, he was choking Tom Brady. And so I think when D'Amico Ryans said post-game that's not who he is, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Like, you've now had a
He's
pattern.
shown who he is.
Correct, of doing this. And so we'll see when the NFL comes down with it. To me, it can't just be a fine. It has to be a suspension.
Yeah, and I do hope it seems like it's trending that way. I think Schefter and Rappaport both said it will be a suspension. So that's good, because I do, after the Bears situation, he ended up getting fined. But that week, there was like guys who just had like one guy, a hip drop tackle, who got fined like double what he did, and he punched somebody in the face on the sideline who wasn't even in on this play, was just standing there. And yeah, the Tom Brady one that went viral, he was like choking Tom Brady on the other one. I saw another clip too of him hitting Will Levis late on another play. So he definitely has this thing for hitting quarterbacks late, because now this is 4 circumstances where it's all been on the quarterback and late hits and very egregious and aggressive ways of doing it. And so, yeah, he deserves everything that's coming to him and probably more, honestly.
I preface this by saying I do like D'Amico Ryans as a young defensive-minded head coach. I do like what he's been able to do as he's returned to a franchise that drafted him once upon a time. But Azeez Al-Shaair has a C on his chest, and Azeez Al-Shaair played for D'Amico Ryans in San Francisco and was the apple of his eye, and his goal was to bring him back to Houston this season.
Yep.
And that is a perhaps interesting decision, we'll call that, by D'Amico Ryans. And look, he's a good football player. I respect that, but the character flaws, if multiple, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, this is now a pattern, and it's a pattern of behavior that you ultimately have to suffer some sort of repercussions for.
Well, you definitely did see the immediate effect when he wasn't in the game anymore, like what the defense looked like with or without. They were down to their 3rd and 4th
string linebackers.
Yes, and you saw that immediately. And so that's also, you got to, and someone like Azeez needs to think about that in these moments. Not only is it wrong to be doing it, but also you're hurting your team, because now if he does, let's say he gets suspended for the rest of the year, looks like they're going to win the division, but still now your defense is taking a massive hit because you can't play by the rules.
Yeah, we didn't mention Parker Washington earlier when we were giving out the positives for the game yesterday. Certainly, I thought he had a great game as far as his first career game of over 100 yards. But I also wanted to mention this stat when it comes to Brian Thomas Jr. So he had a 56-yard catch yesterday. That was his 4th reception of 50-plus yards this season. He's the only rookie in the NFL with multiple receptions of over 50 yards. So I know everyone wanted to label him as wide receiver 4 when it came to this draft class, but certainly there's no one else I'd rather have than him to this point in time. Now, I don't watch the other guys as closely, obviously, but the explosiveness in which he shows every time he's given the football is exciting.
Yeah, he's definitely used that way. Like, that's what type of receiver he is. So some of these other, like Aroma Dunze, for example, he's not used in that game, so he's not getting these like deep, long passes. He's more so of getting these like 10, 15 more building up your offense type of things. And I don't watch Xavier Worthy enough to really see that one. Marvin Harrison Jr., I honestly feel like has been a little bit of a disappointment compared to where
everyone thought he was going to be.
He was going to be light years ahead of everybody else. Granted, I feel like there's moments where it's just, if you watch that game yesterday, definitely moments where Kyler doesn't quite look like Kyler, and then other moments you're like, he's back, and then one play later you're like, never mind, he's not back. So that one is interesting too, but I do think you've got to give credit to them. That's one thing, and I've been very critical on Trent Baalke, but that is one that you do want to nod, because not only did they get Brian Thomas Jr., but you also got draft capital too in addition to that. So that was one of the better things that he's done in his time here.
He fleeced the Vikings, and the Vikings, though, squeak one out in the desert yesterday.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
I think that, look, I know there are those of you out there who your primary question on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures today on the MyBookie Digital Studio, 641-1010 is the number to get in on the conversation, by the way. I know that there are those of you who worry when we say things like, hey, credit to Trent Baalke for drafting Brian Thomas Jr., credit to Trent Baalke for getting the Walker Little contract done, which, as I said at the beginning of the program, and I will say again here, that deal would be done if a new general manager was to start tomorrow. So don't think that is it's a great move by him, but this is not a situation where this means that he has long-term job security. As Hacker noted on the fifth quarter yesterday, and I'm glad he did, once upon a time, Trent Baalke gave Vance McDonald, a journeyman tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, a 3-year contract in December of 2016, and he was fired 3 weeks later. Yeah. And so I would like to dispel this notion of because someone did X, Y, and Z, therefore they're safe.
Doing it for themselves for next year.
Yeah. Right. But Shad at this point in time is still leaving everyone to wonder what he's going to do because, again, no one's been fired. We've seen in other places when things haven't gone well, people lose their jobs. And at least for the here and now, it makes the fans feel better because it means that the owner and or general manager is paying attention and feeling the vibes. And therefore, people at least know that moving forward, it's going to be different. That's the problem here.
Which, speaking of, let's pivot to Taylor's Chicago Bears, where President Kevin Warren was just meeting with Bears media. Yes, the wolf in sheep's clothes from the Big Ten once upon a time is the president of the Chicago Bears. Shout out Matt Hayes for that one. He said that general manager Ryan Poles is staying. He will run their head coaching search with Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren saying that, quote, this will be the most coveted job in the National Football League this year. And when asked who will have the final say on who the head coach is, Warren said that Poles will, but added that they'll do what's in the best interest of the Bears to work out any decisions together. I bring this up not just because Taylor also covers the Bears, but because if there are to be changes in Jacksonville, this is going to be a philosophical question that so many of you will have, we will have, of Shad Khan and where this organization is headed. Is the general manager, if there's a vacancy, first and foremost, is the general manager hired first? Is the general manager hiring the coach? Are they both being hired at the same time, independent of one another? I can tell you this, the way that this process goes is 9 times out of 10, a head coach, if they know there is also a GM vacancy, just like they have their defense coordinator or their offensive coordinator lined up of who they might go get, they have names of general managers who they would be willing to work with. In the case of the Washington Commanders last year, they hired the GM while simultaneously running both searches. Once they hired Adam Peters, they presented him a list of, hey, here's our 3 to 4 top head coaching candidates. Now you tell us which of those 3 or 4 you would like to work with.
My guess is Shad will hire a general manager if, again, there are vacancies. Yeah. My guess is he would hire the general manager, let the general manager go hire the head coach, because my gut is his personality is I don't want to be involved in every single thing of this franchise, so I'm going to turn the reins over to someone that I do trust. Will he hire the right people, though? That's the question.
And I do think, like, as a general manager, you would want to be able to make that choice because, for example, people have been criticizing Ryan Poles for Eberflus, but in reality, it was the same situation as Washington, where the McCaskies had, hey, here's 3 guys, this is your choice. So, like, it wasn't like he was out there interviewing all these people and he just had a limited option. And so that's why I feel like the best thing to do is getting that general manager in the building and letting him do the whole process, because this is somebody, especially if you don't have people at the top that are like the true football people. You need that. You need somebody who is knowledgeable when it comes to the game, because yes, you can talk about the business side of things and what they can do when it comes to like signing players and drafting players and whatever, but you also want to know that they are the football mind that you want also.
Right. The other option would be hire an executive vice president of football operations, which I know around here is almost the taboo word because of what happened when Tom Coughlin was the executive vice president. There were so many good things that just overshadowed by the NFLPA report. But you could also hire an EVP and then let that person then hire both the general manager and the head coach. It just depends on how you want your organization to be structured. But as of now, but as people are driving around like, wait, people were fired?
Everything's the same, don't
No, nothing has changed. No one has been let go, and the Jaguars are 2-10. And people thought that maybe they wouldn't win the AFC South, but certainly they would be in the playoffs this season. I think that would be a 90% of people thought the Jaguars would make the playoffs this season, but they have not, obviously, and they will not. I can go out on a limb, even though they're not mathematically eliminated yet. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're not making the postseason. All right, time now for the cool down.
Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Well, let's begin with a bit of news. Doug Peterson is meeting with reporters right now at the Miller Electric Center. He was asked about Trevor Lawrence. He said he spoke to him earlier today. Trevor Lawrence remains in the concussion protocol. They will get him through said protocol and see where he is at on possibly shutting down Trevor for the season. Doug Peterson saying he wants to send a positive message to the team that we're still fighting. Have to be smart, though, for long-term health.
Okay, that's what I said last week.
And I do think people are going to obviously read a lot into that. Like, are you getting to make the decision about the future and the medical decision and all that stuff? Or is Shad making that decision?
Is Trevor making it himself?
Is Trevor? Yeah. There's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, and I do credit to Dewey, the clip that we played earlier in the show when he was talking about the guys they're still playing. Like, these guys are still playing for contracts. They're playing because a lot of them love the game and they still want to win football games no matter what it looks like. I know a lot of people at this juncture start being like, whatever, like, get the first pick again so you can get Travis Hunter, move on. They're not thinking that way. Like, 99% of the time, I do think that I genuinely believe that some places, for example, Chicago, I do think players shut off because they wanted Eberflus gone. And then now that he's gone, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing a whole different product, because that does, once you lose the locker room, it does affect things. But I do think, like, they're playing for so much more than just being like, okay, let's get the number one pick again for the third time in 5 years. That is not where their mind is. So, yes, these guys are still going to play hard. And at least we see it from, we mentioned BTJ. BTJ is one of those ones that I don't picture ever not playing 120%.
And we heard from Dewey Wingard earlier in the program, and he referenced that for so many of these guys, they need to understand you're fighting for your NFL lives. Whatever you're putting on tape these next 5 weeks, that could determine your job security here in Jacksonville or elsewhere.
Future, wherever you're going.
Real quick, I do want to hit on the conversation we just had with regards to how the Bears are going about having a GM being retained, but having a head coaching vacancy. I'm not suggesting that's going to be the case here in Jacksonville. I just want to walk you guys kind of through the different processes, because obviously the biggest criticism of Kevin Warren, the president of the Chicago Bears, Taylor and Lauren, was the fact that he had that Eberflus meet with the media on Friday, and then he fired him 2 hours later. And so Kevin Warren he gave an explanation, including the desire for Eberflus to tell his family before the news leaked, yada, yada, yada. Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports quote tweets this. Of course, Nate Tice's dad, once upon a time, worked here in Jacksonville, also worked with the Minnesota Vikings, where Kevin Warren was the executive vice president. And Nate says, well, this is an improvement from when I was handed a press release in the locker room that said my dad was being fired. And so, look, that's where I look at this potential situation for Shad Khan to be back in the process of hiring either a general manager, a head coach, or both. And that is where that conversation of having someone who's done this before step in. Because what if you do go get a first-time general manager? Do you trust that first-time general manager to run the search process? Are you bringing in an executive vice president or a president like Kevin Warren is in Chicago and expecting them, because they have experience, to run the search? Again, it's a conversation we will have potentially at some point in the next 5 weeks, but it's a very, very important time for this franchise. And I know we say that, I feel like, every other year, but I think that this has to be handled with care.
I'll cool down that we're done for the day.
Yeah.
And we'll talk certainly more about flag planting and about overtimes and about the Shair apology that I think is fake and all that fun stuff tomorrow. These hills are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Don't go anywhere. XL Prime Time comes up next.
Yeah.